Welcome to 100 Yards of Football. Today we got an NFL team preview. It's the Los Angeles Rams out of the NFC West. If you like the video today, please come in and share it. I'm your host, Vincent Turner, and joining me today is the legend. He's a two-time All-American at Florida State University. He was a first-round draft pick of the Atlanta Falcons in the 1981 draft, and he played 12 years in the National Football League. My man, Mr. Bobby Butler. So if you enjoyed the video today, please come in and share it as we're going to break down the team from the NFC West, the Los Angeles Rams. So, Mr. Butler, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Vincent. How are you today?
Now, we're talking about a team today that was your nemesis back when you played 12 years in the National Football League. Eric Dickerson, you should know about him. Jim Everett, you should know about him. I'm not trying to throw mustard on you today, man, but like I said, we got some great things going on at 100 Yards of Football, so all eyes on us. So I'm just trying to have fun today. We'll break down the Los Angeles Rams for us, sir.
Well, I tell you, yeah, they were a problem in the past because they had great teams back there, and Eric Dickerson and one of the best offensive lines probably in the history of the game. And so we're not going to talk about those guys. We're going to talk about the current Los Angeles Rams.
Yes, sir.
Coach Sean McVay has done a great job since becoming the head coach. I'm giving him a shout out because, he's from the ATL, played high school ball at Marist High School right here in the local Atlanta area. But after reaching the Super Bowl in 2018, Vincent, the Rams done came back down to earth a little bit, But the issues seem to stem around the offensive line play last year. And so what they've got to do this year, they got to get that back and get that working strong with them again, because they still have a sound group of playmakers that will, be difficult for most defenses and a solid quarterback in Jared Goff to get the job done. But like I always tell you every week, right? We build football teams on our offensive line and our defensive line. You got to build your foundation. And right now, their foundation is a little shook, but they have some good players on their line. They just got to get it together. And they just got to get some chemistry. Because the one thing about offensive linemen, you don't have to have a lot of all-stars, Vincent. It's really about chemistry, right? And so one of the things they did this offseason, they re-signed Andrew Whitmore, left tackle. Now, Andrew is 38 years old. He's probably played the best of his game, in the past previous years. But he's a great leader in the locker room. He can help them stabilize this unit as they go forward. But when we look past the offensive line, they got to work on that, right? They got some players they can do that with. And I think Coach Sean McVay will get it done. He understands he's got to build his offensive line, right? But they got a proven quarterback in Jared Goff, even though he took a step back in 2019, Vincent. And I believe primarily because of his offensive line play, right? And so he took a step back. He's young enough to recapture some things. But here's what I love about him. He's already been in a Super Bowl one time. He's been to the mountaintop, just didn't get the job done. He wants to get back there as much as he can, and so he'll be building his mindset on getting back to the promised land. But like I say, his whole production and everything is going to be depending on how well the offensive line play. The running back situation is a little different from what we've seen in the previous years. Todd Gurley has left the Los Angeles Rams. And he's at home back in the ATL. We kind of like that in Atlanta, right? So who will take his spot for most of the bulk of the carries in the Rams offense? And I like what they've done. They selected Florida State great Mr. Cam Akers, right, in the second round out of Florida State. And Cam is probably going to solidify that running back position because what he did at Florida State, Vincent, he did it all without an offensive line. So he knows best how to get it done, right? And so he's a workhorse. When you look at his body frame and his body type, you look at Cam and you think he's more of a scat back, but I'm telling you, he's a power back. He's not a scat back, and he can get the job done. Along with Malcolm Brown and Darrell Henderson, they will add depth to the backfield. Now, when we talk about their wide receiver room, it's one of the best in the league. Robert Woods is one of the better receivers in all the National Football League. He's a proven veteran. He can play inside, Vincent. He can play outside. He's a playmaker and can get things done. And then Cooper Kupp, I tell you, man, he's an exciting ball player. I've been watching him over the last 2 years. He came back off of an ACL injury a few years ago, but he came back and didn't miss a beat. And so you pair those two guys together, and you got two threats. And then also you look at, they lost their speed guy, Brandon Cook. He left and went to the Texans. But here's the good news. In the second round, they drafted Mr. Van Jefferson, who's the son of speedster Sean Jefferson, who I can tell you a little bit about. And so I gotta say, the fruit don't fall too far from the tree with the Jefferson family, right? And then also with Josh Reynolds, he played well for the Rams last year. So they've got a proven receiver room. But here's what I like, because the best friend of most quarterbacks, seasoned quarterbacks who understand how to use one, is the tight end. And so Tyler Higbee broke out and produced the third best receiving grade among tight ends last year. That's a big thing for them. And also with him, you got Gerald Everett, who finished the ninth best receiving grade in the tight end position in the National Football League. So you got two proven guys who can be a dump guy, a Muda chain guy, that we can go to, not also in tight with the hands in the dirt, but outside in the slot where they'll be a lot more difficult to defend. So I like that. And then they added Bryson Hopkins, who has vertical capability. I mean, he can get up and down the seams, man. And I'm gonna tell you, that's a danger for most defenses. When you got a tight end who can catch balls in the seam, bruh, that's a weapon for them. So their receiving group collectively, Vincent, is real strong. They'll do well. And then we start talking about the defense, man. All right, here we go. Here we go, Vincent. They say you win championships with defenses, right? So I'm going to say this about their defense. I'm going to start right here, and I'm going to go from there. The best player in the National Football League on offense or defense is Mr. Aaron Donald. He's two-time NFL Defensive Player of the Year, 6-time Pro Bowler, 5-time first-team All-Pro. He is the best football player, in my opinion, in the National Football League. And so with him on the field, it's always going to make somebody else grow up and be a star, because they're going to have one-on-one opportunities. And sometimes if they get off the line, right, hey, they're going to go in there scot-free, because they're going to have to use 2 and 3 people to block Mr. Aaron Donald. So that's a good thing, for Sam Ebukam, right? Now, they lost Dante Fowler. He went to Atlanta as well. But like I say, Sam Ebukam, is a solid run defender. You got Ogbonnia Okoronkwo, right, in his third year, and he showed some flashes that he's going to be a pretty decent pass rusher, all right? So that's a good thing for them. And then you got other D tackles like Michael Brockers. You got Ashawn Robinson from the Lions. Ashawn Robinson from the Lions. But both of those guys are strong run stoppers. So they'll be able to stop the run, and then Mr. Donald just make things happen on that defensive line, man. And I'm telling you, guys going to be making plays. Then you add from Alabama, 3rd round pick, Terrell Lewis. Let's say it all together. Roll Tide. He should have a good chance of being a starter this year on the edge for the Rams defense. And I'm telling you, man, those guys up front, they win for the Los Angeles Rams. And then when you talk about the linebacker group, you got Corey Littleton, who left. He moved on in free agency, but that's okay. You got a proven guy, Leonard Floyd, from Chicago, who signed with the Rams this offseason. He's an edge rusher. Listen at this now, who can also take some snaps at middle linebacker. So he's a versatile guy that they can use in that defensive scheme, and probably can add a little flavor, Vincent, to the defense because of his abilities, right? And so then you add Michael Kaiser and Trayvon Howard, both drafted in 2018. They should step their game up a little bit, right? So I like their defense, and like I always tell you, and I love this song that I always sing. It don't matter what you got in the den, as long as what you got in the kitchen, your up front is powerful. And brother, they got one of the most powerful defensive lines in the league, because you have this catalyst named Aaron Donald. I like the Rams. You know, if they can work out their offensive line situation, Vincent, you know, I see them back in the playoffs. But I'm gonna tell you this: if they don't work it out, they can be a mediocre team, 9-7, 10-16, right? Which is not gonna fare well in the NFC West.
Boy, you brought up a lot of good points, but it's one point that I'm gonna have to hold you accountable for that you didn't even bring up, but maybe you're saving it for me to bring up
That's right.
in of the conversation here.
I need you to get the den for me. You need to take care of the den for me.
I'm gonna get the den for you because I
Take
already
care of
know.
the den.
I'm surprised you left that on the table for me.
Well, I didn't want to sound so biased because, you know, Florida State is everywhere in the nation, right? And, you know, every week I'm talking about those DBs from Florida State. But, you know, they got a DB from Florida State, Vincent, that arguably is the best cornerback in the game.
Yes,
right?
Sir.
And so instead of me seeming like I'm biased, I want to let you handle that today.
And I appreciate that. So I'm going to start with the Rams. When you think about the LA Rams, man, you always think about the quarterback history of the Rams.
Mm-hmm.
And you think about the days, especially when me and you grew up, we grew up watching the big guy from North Carolina State, Roman Gabriel.
That's right.
Then he moved on. Then we had the young man from Grambling State University that led him to the playoffs in the mid-70s, James Harris. Then after him, it was Pat Hayden. Then a young man out of Nebraska by way of California that led him to a Super Bowl back there in 1979, Vince Ferragamo.
That's
Then
right.
they had the young man out of Albuquerque, New Mexico that came in the mid-'80s named Jim Everett. Now, all those guys I just mentioned, the young man they have under center right now, Jared Goff, I think is better than all of them combined right now. Simply because you brought up a good point. He has a Super Bowl under his belt. Granted, he didn't win, but he was a young guy. And in this league, you know this, Brother Butler, it's a lot of quarterbacks that can't even come close to going to the Super Bowl and carrying their team.
That's right.
Now, let's go back to last year. When you look at the Rams right now, Todd Gurley is gone. He meant a lot to that football team. But let's be realistic here. Todd Gurley had knee problems, and they had a lot of problems in the offensive line that you brought up. So a lot was on Jared Goff, and he really had to carry that football team. And then Brandon Cooks was not as efficient than he was the previous seasons. What I'm saying is, it's Jared Goff's team right now, hands down. The young man out of the University of California by way on that West Coast out of Oakland, it's about Jared Goff and the Rams and how well he can play. I'm really, really sold on him. And I think he can carry the Rams because right now, his offensive line is going to be a little more stable because they re-signed a big-time veteran, as you mentioned. Granted, he's 38 years old, but Andrew Whitworth can play football. And they're getting the other right tackle back, Rob Havenstein, who was hurt all last season out of Wisconsin. So I think they're going to be all right there from an offensive line perspective. But what I like about Jared Goff, and you got to look how he's thinking right now. At the receiving group, I still got 3 of my top receivers back. Like you said, Brother Butler, Cooper Kupp can play. Robert Woods can play, USC finest. Then he got the young man, Josh Reynolds, out of Texas A&M, who can still take the top off the defense. All he got to do now, he's got his chance. But Vance Jefferson, from what I've been reading, has been their best offensive player in camp. And you know he's going to come with it because he's the best offensive player at that position in Florida, and his daddy, Sean Jefferson, is royalty. But this is what's going to make, I think, Jared Goff happy and why we're going to look at the Rams a little bit different. We're going to go down memory lane, down in Tallahassee, where you played at in the 80s, back up to last year. Granted, things didn't work out for head coach Willie Taggart, but the best player on their team, and he did it under multiple circumstances. No offensive line, inconsistent quarterback. My man, Cam Akers, out of Clinton, Mississippi. 5-star recruit.
That's up.
1,000 over 1,100 yards last year and 14 touchdowns. Go back and look at the game film. It's called a miracle. And when Cam Akers came out of high school, everybody wanted him in the country. He went to Florida State. Things didn't work out, but I'm going to say it again. Last year, he had over 1,100 yards and 14 touchdowns, basically on a non-existent offensive line. He still produced. And A lot of people saying he's the best running back that's came out of the state of Mississippi since that young man came out of Columbia High School by way of Jackson State, Walter Payton. Cam Akers with Jared Goff in LA, they're going to make music swing, and they're going to make LA embrace them like the city of LA is the Hollywood of the stars. So Cam Akers is going to represent Florida State on another level because he is a guy that's got all the abilities. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. But what I like to say about him, he's got what I call explosiveness on that level of a Reggie Bush.
Yes.
On the level of a Davin Cook.
Yes.
And some about those guys, a Tony Dorsett. Those guys can take it coast to coast in 1 minute. Blink, boom, you blown out. It's like pumping gas in a car. Explosiveness. Now I'm going to start with the Rams defense, and I'm going to end it real quick. Aaron Donald, you're right, best player in the league. But to me, Dante Fowler left, that's all right.
Right.
Corey Linsington left, that's all right. But to me, they better defensively. Michael Brockers failed the physical out there in Baltimore, but he came back. So Aaron Donald's got his partner.
Right.
But woo-wee, think about this. Ashawn Robinson, Roll Tide, University of Alabama. Think of this. Leonard Floyd, them dogs out of Georgia. Terrell Lewis, who's a third-round pick, but really should have won in the first round if it hadn't been for injuries. Right. Roll Tide. What do all those three guys have? What they have that we can put together? They came out of the best conference in all of football.
Absolutely.
All of them played at a high level. Now you putting them with Aaron Donald? Come on, man. To me, I look like the Rams are better on the D-line. Then I wouldn't worry about their linebacker position because Mitchell Kaiser, the young man out of Virginia, he's ready to rock. Was a tremendous football player level in the ACC. But this is what's going to really, I think, make the Rams better defensively. You're right, Brother Butler. Florida State, DBU. Jalen Ramsey, like him or not, he's the best in the game. He's got Mike Haynes' size, 6'1", about 212.
Yes.
And he does this, but he backs it up.
Yes.
Probably the best that's ever came along since Deion. And what I like about Jalen Ramsey, even though he's from Florida State, he's from 615.
Go ahead and do it, bro.
Nashville, Tennessee. Respects out there today to my sister, my daughter, and her aunt. You know what I'm talking about, from the 615 out there in Nashville. Jalen Ramsey is a baller. But what makes that secondary so special, and it's going to make this team so special, a lot of people don't even talk about their safeties. Tyler Rapp out of the University of Washington, 99 tackles last year. John Johnson playing at a Pro Bowl level.
Yes.
Don't worry about the Rams. A lot of people saying they lost Todd Gurley. Let me tell you this. Sean McVay still got some toys in the bank.
Yes.
A lot of people saying he fired Wade Phillips as the D coordinator. He's got a young one. Don't worry about that. I forgot the young man's name right now, but the Rams are going to be Hollywood. And if you think they're going to take a step back and not be tough in the NFC West, to me, you better check again, because Jared Goff has played quality football now, his team, and he got the best person, the best offensive player that can match his talents. Because I'm telling you, Cam Akers, woo-wee, I saw him in high school out of Clinton, Mississippi. And I'm even said, and my dad's favorite player, Walter Payton, he had some type of skills. So out there in LA, it's going to be Hollywood. So San Francisco, don't get ahead of yourself. Russell Wilson, don't get ahead of yourself. Arizona, Cliff Kingsbury, don't get ahead of yourself, because the Rams are going to be there ready to play. And that being said, Brother Butler, final words on the Los Angeles Rams.
Well, I'm with you, Vincent, in every way. See, if you can play defense, first of all, they're good up front. They're good in the back too, right? So they got people in the den, they got people in the kitchen, right? So that's a good thing. From an offensive standpoint, I think Cam Akers is the future in the Rams offense. And along with Goff and along with all the weapons he's got out wide, it's going to be pretty good. If we keep that offensive line stabilized, that's the only thing that can slow them down a little bit. But other than that, brother, hey, they got all the pieces to the puzzle. And so I look forward to them, having a good year this season.
That being said, I want to bring up one other name. Young man was hurt last year, second round pick out of University of Memphis from the 901. Daryl Henderson is going to be a mainly claw backing up Cam Akers. Love to the 901. So that being said, if you like the video today, please come in and share it. It's always nice to end this show. Peace and love to all my beautiful people from the 901, hometown, Memphis, Tennessee. Also, to the family of 100 Yards of Football that's made my job and making me live in my dream. First of all, to the great man right there from Delray Beach, Florida, by way of Florida State, Atlanta Falcons royalty, Mr. Bobby Butler. To my man, the best defense, matter of fact, one of the best high school coaches here in the state of Georgia and North Atlanta, defensive coordinator Kevin the Boy Jones. I love you. To my man from Syracuse University. My, me and him battle all the time. My man, the coach at Carver Bible College, Mr. Brian Spencer and his colleague Will Weatherspoon. To the babyface Nelson, who we call him, the youngest of the group, Mr. Logan Landers, for you doing an outstanding job. That's why we 100 Yards of Football. And you know what? We're coming. And my famous words I'm going to say today, quiet, because we're coming. Have a blessed day.